back to the HaneyBiz Project with host Mark Haney.
All right. Welcome back to the HaneyBiz Project, brought to you courtesy of Sun System Technology. I'm Mark Haney, and I am joined today by Tom Kandris, the man behind the entrepreneurial success story, Package One. How you doing, Tom?
I'm great, Mark. How you doing, man?
Thank you for coming down. I'm doing great. Now, I call you the entrepreneur next door, and
That's because I am.
he actually is. He lives next door to me. And Tom, I gotta start by thanking you for introducing me to the world of entrepreneurship in Sacramento, where I had been a video store guy, then video security all over the country, and now I'm focused on my hometown. And I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was until you and I became friends. So, what is entrepreneurship in Sacramento all about?
Well, Sacramento, I think is a little bit unique as an entrepreneur community because I think the people here in Sacramento really care about Sacramento.
Yeah.
I think it's less about how they become successful as individuals as they kind of become successful as part of the region. I think it's just really cool what we've done here.
Well, I think I learned that from you. You're a member of EO, one of the founding guys in the Sacramento Entrepreneurs Organization. They are a sponsor of our show. A little shout out to those guys, our brothers in EO, and you brought me into that organization. But beyond that, I was impressed by what you give to the community. I've accused you of being like overboarding, right? You're on the board of I think how many boards are you on? Sacramento Chamber?
I don't recall.
A lot. So
On or off boards.
what inspires you? But why do you give back like that? Obviously, we're going to get into Package One and the success story of Package One and what it took to build this enterprise. But what inspires you to help the next guy in line?
Well, there's I had kind of a career change. I did 20 some odd years in the microelectronics industry, and I was gone all over the world. But when I finally made a decision to make a change, that I wanted to come home, and coming home meant coming home to Sacramento.
Yeah.
And so if I was going to build an enterprise here, I wanted to make sure that this was going to be a great place to live, work, play, and stay. And so part of that was just giving back to the community. I want this to be a great place for my kids. I want to have great civic amenities. I want everybody to get along, but I want to create jobs in this climate.
Yeah, creating jobs. I mean, I think sometimes small business people, we get a little bit overlooked, but a lot of jobs get created by small business. When you started your business several years ago, why don't you talk to us about what that was like when you bought that business and how it grew? Tell us a little bit about that journey and some of the jobs and other impact that you had on Sacramento.
Well, I mean, actually, the first version of Package One was from scratch.
Okay.
So we my partner and I at the time, Eric Portella, we took our own savings, rented an empty warehouse, started a distribution company. We thought we were going to put the basketball court and the weight room over in one corner of the building because we wanted to have a culture of community. But we grew too fast. We never got beyond the basketball net, so we kind of filled the warehouse full of stuff. But we started from scratch, and we went down to the state store and bought used partitions and computers and desk, with the exception of one thing. We bought every employee a new chair.
All right, every employee got a new
had
chair.
A new chair. So they basically had to put it together themselves. So we got it from Staples and shoved it over there and said, hey, welcome to Package One. But we had one new thing for them, and that was where they sat.
Used chairs, used partitions, used shelving, but we got the new chair, protect the back, and the well-being of the employee. But you talked about, you kind of going in, I'll call it on a shoestring, where, you got the money out of savings, you went in on the cheap, but you had skin in the game. What makes how does skin in the game affect one's desire in entrepreneurship?
Well, I think that if you have skin in the game, then you're committed. You're committed to the process. In our particular case, we got overcommitted. So at one point in time, there was really no choice. And so as entrepreneurs, I think you have to be vested. You have to be emotionally invested. You have to be financially invested. You have to be invested yourself. Your family's got to be invested. Anybody you're associated with, including your employees, have got to be vested. Yeah. And you got to find the magic words to kind of create that vision, because that's what it's all about to be an independent entrepreneur. What
was the magic behind Package One?
It kind of varied, and it changes from time to time. I think that you have to have a solid vision. I think you have to have competent leadership. I kind of liken Package One and when we started to kind of like the 85 Bears, all these type A personalities, very strange guys with different eyes looking in different directions and what have you. But we were kind of an eclectic group, and magic happened. And so we were just a great group, And we started on fire and never looked back.
And as you grew, tell us about what the company looks like today. Obviously, you started off with used desks and new chairs and just a few employees, but now that company looks a lot different.
Well, I don't think we ever left the austerity plan. In fact, it was a kind of a joke in the companies that we weren't allowed to buy Post-its. I mean, everybody had to have their mark, right?
Yeah.
I used to know a CEO that only allowed people to have 2 pencils, and so I chose Post-its. And so every Christmas, I get a big bouquet of Post-its that the employees put together for me. But I think I think having the message of austerity and kind of living that program and reinvesting in the business. We took everything we had, put it back in the business because it really was about the community. It was about the growth of the business, and you have to be able to give the business what it needs. So I think it was less about trying to create a absolute comfortable place to live or work. It was about having a good, clean environment where people knew that all the money that we took into the company was going to work for us.
Yeah, it's that culture. And what goes into building a culture like that where the team is so committed? Because, I mean, at the beginning of we're talking about the life cycle of an entrepreneurship, and we'll talk more, and the life cycle of an entrepreneur. We'll talk more about that as the show goes. But the life cycle of a business where you start off so hungry and with humble beginnings, but getting that buy-in at the early stages, it's so important. How do you get that?
Well, we started off with a big vision in mind. And so we didn't start off with something that we could easily achieve. We took some criticism as a leadership team. It's like, hey, this is a big, hairy goal. Why are you going after this? And, if we're not achieving it at that same level of a pace, are we being, successful? So we have a big goal. We had a vision. Our goal was, and our vision was to enable commerce and save the planet one box at a time.
Oh,
and
wow.
we basically say we're going to make business happen, and we're going to be sustainable in our process, but we're also going to be $100 million. And so who's with me?
Yeah.
And so it really comes down into having something that people can strive for and achieve year after year and show some measurable growth.
And you've actually, you have achieved so much. You guys have sold millions and millions of boxes. And it's beyond boxes. It's signage. It's packaging materials. I've got my hanging or banging sign back there that you gave to me. But, it's much more than that. But recently, you guys had an event where you brought 4 other larger package companies together and brought in some private equity in an effort to really grow the enterprise. Tell us a little bit about that. I know there's a lot of details that you can't get into, and this is fresh, but just give me a sense as to what the company looks like today.
So where we were, we're about 140 people, $60 million or so in revenue. And most of the guys like us in our space, really work together to manage our supply chain. So a few of us have gotten together and have gone into a business together with corrugators. And so there's 3 other guys like me, a little bit like me, but not like me. And we got together with a common goal of maybe creating this larger than life enterprise that covered the gamut of packaging. And so it was really kind of cool to get 3 other guys together with, the folding carton and display, where I might have been more of the brown and white, the ag business.
Okay.
And a couple guys in the digital space. So really what we look like today is an aggregate company of in excess of $250 million and 600 employees.
Wow, that is exciting. Now, and with all that success, Tom, you and I, we've became very good friends since you moved in next door to me, and we are a sounding board for one another in many cases. But we're also guys that like to have fun, and I think you've challenged me in that area. Mark, we have to do once-in-a-lifetime events, whether it's go to your homeland of Greece or my homeland of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. We like to go do things that are kind of like off the charts. Where did that philosophy come from?
Hey, I think if you're going to do it, you may as well do it. But I think you do it within your own means, right?
Okay.
So what is great and a once-in-a-lifetime experience? If you go on a safari and you pitch a tent in Africa, and that's what you can handle, that's what meets your lifestyle, then that's great. If you go and pitch a tent and you've got people that are waiting on you and there's a chandelier in your tent, and that's cool too.
I'm a camping trip over at Lake of the lake up in the hills.
I think once in a lifetime experiences, I think, are really kind of in the eyes of the beholder. Yeah. So I think it's about taking the ordinary of what you might consider ordinary and just making it special.
No question. I think being with people you care about is always very special. I want to thank you for joining me today, Tom, somebody I care about as one of my closest friends. And we're going to bring you back on the show after the next segment, but to share a little more about the entrepreneurial journey and what that is like. But coming up after the break, we're going to meet Mr. Greg Conley. He is going to be entering the Mark Tank studio. Greg is the co-founder and president of Trifecta Nutrition. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com, courtesy of Audi Rockland. This is the HaneyBiz Project.